Welcome back to Hey, How You Doing? The podcast where we ask questions you probably think about at 2 a.m. but never say out loud at brunch. I'm your host, and today, we're going there. What if Canada, our peaceful, polite, snow-covered, healthcare-having, maple syrup-dripping country, became the 51st state of the United States? Would we be richer or poorer? Would we lose our identity? Could we even keep our beloved universal healthcare? Let's break it all down. First, let's get this straight. This is hypothetical. The only way this could happen is if Canada voluntarily joined or somehow collapsed politically and got absorbed. Wild, but hey, we said we were going there. So picture it. Parliament dissolves, the Prime Minister resigns, and King Charles becomes just a guy on our old coins. Canada signs a constitutional deal, and boom. Now we've got 60 states, because our provinces and territories all get divvied up. Now let's talk dollars. On paper, many Canadians might feel richer. U.S. states often have lower income taxes. No federal sales tax like our GST. Some states, like Florida or Texas, don't have any income tax. Corporate taxes in the U.S. are lower than in Canada. But the flip side, say goodbye to subsidized medications, dental coverage for kids, and parental leave benefits. No more $10 a day daycare in Quebec. That becomes a private expense. American education and healthcare are expensive, like second mortgage expensive. So if you're upper middle class or above, you might pocket a little more. But if you're paycheck to paycheck, you'd probably feel the squeeze. This one's, painful. Canada's universal healthcare is honestly a badge of national pride. You break your arm, you don't pay a cent. You get cancer, you don't lose your house. But under the U.S. system, coverage is tied to your job or bought privately. There's no federal universal model. U.S. Medicare and Medicaid kick in only for seniors and low-income folks. And even that varies by state. So unless the 10 new Canadian states passed their own public plans, we'd likely fall into the U.S. system. That means copays, deductibles, out-of-pocket costs, and health insurance premiums. Could we keep our healthcare system? Technically, states can create their own programs, but they'd need funding, political will, and permission from Washington. Realistically, it's unlikely, especially if Congress says no freebies. Okay, so winners, big corporations. They'd love deregulated access to Canadian oil, lumber, and water. Wealthy Canadians, lower taxes, more investments, less red tape. American politicians. Democrats might get more blue states out of Canadian provinces, the U.S. military, more bases, more Arctic access, more global power, and, now for the losers, Indigenous peoples. Treaty rights become murky. U.S. law treats tribes differently than Canadian policy does. Working-class Canadians, loss of social programs, rise in cost of living. Quebec language protections could disappear. You thought Bill 101 was controversial now? Woo! Canadian identity. We go from being the polite neighbor to just another star on the flag. This is the stuff that honestly kind of hurts your soul. Healthcare. Yeah, we've already talked about it, but it's a big one. Cultural policy. Say goodbye to CanCon laws that support Canadian music, TV, and radio. No more 40% Drake on the radio, folks. Gun laws. Well, say hello to Second Amendment debates. Canadian-style gun control? Gone. The CBC might get privatized. Public funding for journalism could just vanish. And the social safety net? Canada's welfare and unemployment insurance is way more generous than in most U.S. states. Basically, you'd be trading in that whole we're in this together vibe for a lot more individualism. Imagine for a second saying the Pledge of Allegiance instead of "O Canada." Thanksgiving in November. School kids learning about George Washington instead of Sir John A. Black Friday lineups getting even more intense than Boxing Day. Canadian identity isn't just about politics. It's about how we see ourselves. Becoming a U.S. state means taking on American holidays, values, and stories. Would we still be Canadian or just American, with snow? So, would Canada becoming the 51st state make us wealthier? Maybe, if you're already doing well. Would we pay less tax? Possibly. Would we lose more than we gain? Arguably, yes. Our healthcare, our identity, our culture, these aren't just luxuries. They're part of the Canadian experience. And while Americans have a lot to be proud of, being Canadian means something different. Something worth protecting. So, for now, Maybe we just stay neighbors, with our maple syrup, our bagged milk, and yes, our tax-funded walk-in clinics. Thanks for tuning in to Hey How You Doin'? If you liked this episode, hit subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who still thinks Americans call us America's hat. Until next time, stay weird, stay curious, and stay Canadian. Peace.